Welcome to the Fit Woman Formula podcast, where we show women just like you how to reclaim your energy, rebuild your body, and step into you 2.0. I'm Coach Jonathan, founder and head coach of the Fit Woman Formula coaching program. This show is for women who are tired of starting over and ready to finally create results that last. Not just weight loss, but real confidence, a healthier relationship with food, a stronger mindset, and a lifestyle that finally lasts. You can watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you enjoy podcasts. And if you're ready to learn more about how we can help you unlock the energy and confidence of your 20s while dropping 2+ sizes in the next 12 weeks, visit fitwomanformula.com. All right, let's get into today's episode. This is something I hear all the time from women once things start clicking for them. They'll say, this just feels different. And what's interesting is, on the surface, it doesn't look all that different. They're still working toward weight loss. They're still improving their habits. They're still showing up for themselves. But the experience of it feels completely different. And that's what I want to talk about today, because most women come into this expecting it to feel a certain way. They expect what we do to feel strict. They expect it to feel intense. They expect it to take over their life. They expect it to require constant discipline. And they expect that if they're doing it right, it should feel hard. But when things actually start working, that's not what happens. What starts to happen instead is things feel calmer, less chaotic, less all-consuming. There's less pressure around every decision, less second guessing, less feeling like one mistake is going to ruin everything. Now let's talk about the first shift. One of the first things they notice is they stop feeling like they're barely holding it all together. They're not constantly worried about messing up. They're not constantly trying to be perfect. They're just showing up and doing what they can. And that alone feels different. Another big shift. They're not making 100 decisions every day anymore. Before, every meal felt like a decision. Every situation felt like something they had to figure out. There was a perfect equation to all of this. What should I eat? Is this okay? Am I still on track? And that mental load really adds up. So when things start finally working, it's quieter. They're not constantly negotiating with themselves anymore. There's a moment that really stands out, and usually it's subtle, but it's extremely powerful. Something doesn't go perfectly, like in this workout or an unplanned meal, a busy day. And instead of spiraling, I talked to you about this spiraling before, they just move on. There's no big reaction. There's no, I'll just start over Monday. They don't get into the fuck it's. There's no guilt-driven reset of any kind. Just back to what they were doing. That is a huge shift. And here's why it feels weird. Because what really throws them off is that it feels too simple. They start to question it. They wonder if they're doing enough. They wonder if it should feel harder. They wonder if they should be doing more, because they've been conditioned to believe that harder means better, that more means better, that extreme means better, or that restriction means better. So when something works and it actually feels manageable, it feels unfamiliar. But there's another layer to this. You see, a lot of women come to us with very little belief that things can actually work. And maybe you're there right now. Belief is one word. I think hope is another word that we could use. Maybe you don't have much hope that things can actually work. And it's not because they don't want it to. Of course they want it to. But it's because of past experience. And again, maybe you can relate to this. They've tried a lot. They've tried everything. They've started over a lot. They've seen progress come and go for years. So there's always this voice in the background that's saying, this is probably going to be the same this time. And that's a very hard thing to override. And this is where things really start to change. Because belief doesn't come from motivation. It changes with proof. Now, this is why we focus so heavily on wins. And I'll tell you that this is something that I know for some ladies when they're first coming into our program, it might seem a little tedious or a little silly even at first, but it's so important. And we're not just talking about scale wins. Okay, that's actually one of the least important ones. They start to notice habit wins, that they're making better decisions without forcing it. It's just happening naturally. They notice movement wins, like that they're staying more active. They're showing up for workouts and getting good workouts in. They're getting stronger. They notice food wins, that they're not overdoing it like they used to. They're more aware, more in control. They notice physical wins, of course, like clothes fitting better, less bloating, changes in the photos and measurements and the progress that we update. And they start to notice life wins, more energy, better mood, more patience, showing up better for their family, showing up better in their careers. And when all of that starts stacking up, that's when belief starts to shift. Because before, they weren't looking for that proof. Their brain was focused on everything that wasn't perfect. Can any of you ladies relate to this? Do you ever feel like you're locked in on everything that you're doing wrong, everything that you missed, everything you didn't do? When that's happening, you're not going to see the progress. And even when there's some progress there, it's easy to dismiss. Like it's not enough or it doesn't count. And that's why having someone to guide them through this process matters so much. Because we're able to help them see what's actually happening, not just what they feel is happening. And again, this goes back to facts versus feelings. It's not that your feelings are wrong. It's just they lie to you. Your feelings lie to you. After a stressful day, are you likely to feel like you've done a great job? No, because your feelings are probably saying, today's been super stressful. You haven't done a good job. Because a lot of the times the facts say something totally different. And it's very helpful to have someone help you to focus in on those facts and focus in on those wins. Because let's think about this. Why do you give up? You give up because what you think you're doing isn't working. But what if it is working and you're just not able to see it? That's where you might need some help. Now, these ladies also start to notice something else. Food doesn't feel as controlling anymore. They're not constantly thinking about what they can or can't have. They're not swinging between being perfect and what look like binges. There's more balance. And even the scale starts to feel different. It doesn't carry the same emotional weight. It becomes information, not a judgment. You know that it's not the end-all be-all. They know that the scale can be going up when inches are coming down and clothes are fitting better and they're feeling better. So the scale isn't running their life anymore. And this is where the real shift happens. They stop feeling like someone who's constantly trying to lose weight, and they start becoming someone who just lives this way. Someone who stays consistent. Someone who adjusts when they need to. Someone who doesn't panic when things aren't perfect. So when they say this feels different, what they're really saying is, this finally fits my life. And if you're listening to this and realizing you've never experienced this before, that things have always felt like a fight or like a battle, like it's always felt like all or nothing, or always felt temporary, that's usually the missing piece. Because when it finally feels different, that's when it actually starts to last. And it doesn't feel hard. And that's exactly what we help women build. When it finally feels different, that's not by accident. That's what we've been working towards. And that's when everything starts to click. And that wraps up today's episode of the Fit Woman Formula Podcast. I hope today's conversation helped you take one more step toward reclaiming your energy, rebuilding your body, and stepping into you 2.0. If you found this helpful, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future episodes. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate it if you left a quick rating or review. It helps more women discover the show. Ready to unlock the energy and confidence of your 20s while dropping 2+ sizes in the next 12 weeks without restrictive diets, useless supplements, or living in the gym? Visit fitwomanformula.com to learn how we've helped hundreds of women just like you. I'll see you in the next episode.